Well, hello everyone. This is Raquel. Welcome. It is Saturday, April 26th in the year 2025. And the last week has seen some pretty extraordinary events at the cosmic level and at the human level. A week ago, we had the passing of the Pope. And this has, even before he passed, started a massive, if you want to call it, massive unlocking of many different things playing out in the quantum realms. Most significantly, and one that most will relate to, is a further unlocking of what is called the sexton grid. And along with that, a release of trapped souls, one way to describe it, a release of consciousness parts. There's many different ways to describe this. But with the releasing and the next layer of unlocking of what is called, I didn't name it, but what's called the sexton grids, many of the fallen angelics have been able to finally unlock, be released from being trapped, part of their consciousness. So again, just to really open up the awareness, we are beings of light that have had so many incarnations, right? So many different ways in which our unique signature frequency has played out in thousands of different bodysuits across this particular planet and the solar system and the galaxy. So when we talk about the fallen angelics, these are beings of light that got part of their consciousness. So think of it as a soul retrieval, right? Type of something a little bit more relatable or known down here. The fallen angelics were some of the first beings of light that came in to try to help, quite frankly, once we went into the deep dive of separation and duality. And several of these beings, and we'll just continue to remind everybody that it is a unique signature frequency, that were called the angelics, got trapped, if you will, in the density, in the grid systems, in the way that this planet had been reverse engineered, and were unable to ever retrieve those aspects, those fractals of their unique signature frequency and consciousness. And that doesn't mean that that was all there was. That was just a piece of a larger set of their consciousness, right? So with what has transpired, this was being taken apart and had been being taken apart for quite some time. It's a grid system, if you will, that had extreme effect on all levels of consciousness on this planet. And it was partly locked down in a location on the planet we know as California. Going back to the California fires earlier this year and other events that have been taking place, that was part of unlocking, part of taking apart this much larger inverted construct of energy that had been locking down many different layers and levels across the planet. And there's always, nothing stands alone, right? Everything is happening together. Everything affects everything, right? Nothing is an island. But we had been unlocking what is called the sexton. Again, we name stuff, right? But that is what we've named it. And it was what a lot of people would refer to as, or something they would recognize, the 666, the seal, the mark of the beast, the 666 inverted seal. These are other names that would be strongly associated with this grid system. And so as even prior to the Pope passing, and quite frankly, one of the reasons I think it all was able to line up was because we were unlocking much bigger, deeper pieces of this sexton grid across the planet. California is one place it locks in. Spain is another place it locks in. Venice in Italy, of course, it ties into the Vatican as well. So as this was coming into another level of unlocking, there were aspects, frozen energies, lockdown energies, that were able to finally be set free, if you will. And that had to do with what we in the religious histories, or histories, the distorted histories of this planet, would refer to as the fallen angelics. So this has been really a profound week. It also started to also release or stir up or get ready for the next phase, which has to do with what religions would call it, different ways to describe it. Many distorted, how can I say this, demons, right, are also up for being brought into neutrality, coming out of that distorted format and being healed and brought back into neutrality. And what most don't really understand, at least I think, maybe they do, but from what I've been able to gather and see, very few people on the planet right now recognize that their unique signature frequency has played out in these realms. They are part of the deeply demonic, the part of their frequency, right? An aspect of their unique signature frequency played out in those roles. They played out as the fallen angelics. They've played out as all the different other species that we label as the bad guys, right? The draconians and the alpha centaurs and all of these different bodysuits and beings that have been part of this grand experience of duality and separation. Many of those aspects, as they release, they need to be brought back into wholeness. They need to be actually loved back into wholeness, right? So as we're going through this particular phase, and the one of the many aspects playing out right now with that sexton grid being unlocked with the passing of the Pope, which quite frankly, I think helped to, again, because it was such a, although some people realized that the Pope didn't really have the power. He was kind of like the front man of the church. But even with his passing, there was an ability to unlock a deeper level with his passing, right? And taking many of those aspects out of a form of being trapped. So it's been quite an extraordinary week. There's been a grand opportunity to love those aspects back into wholeness, if you were aware. And if you're not, now you are. To really recognize that parts of your consciousness may be available for the first time since they were trapped, to be loved back into wholeness. And this is happening simultaneously, of course. Nothing's an island, right? And nothing is really linear, although that's the way our brain processes. There's also profound rehabilitation, if you will, unlocking and making available for a level of higher frequency of organic frequency coming back on the planet through what is called the ruby order or the ruby ray. All of the rays and levels of color frequency that we have been experiencing on this planet have all been distorted. They've always been distorted. That's just the way we played the game. But it is now coming into a new state of correction, or getting the original organic level frequencies of that ray starting to be implemented into the planetary body at the foundational levels. I mean, all the way down at the first dimensional levels, the elementals, the actual building blocks of all of creation, starting to correct, bring back into the organic levels. And so with that, there's also quite a bit happening just across the board with things getting ready to be even more shook up, revealed, brought into higher disclosure. And so it's an exciting time to be aware that this is happening. And with the passing of the Pope, opening up our ability to reclaim aspects of ourselves. And I'm not saying everyone has them, but I sure would encourage you to set the intention. If you do have any of your fractal levels, of your particles of creation, of your unique signature frequency that is now available to be loved back into unity, loved back into neutrality, brought back into that 0 point, that you recognize the opportunity and do that inner work. This lifetime is about bringing everything back into wholeness and unlocking the entire game. And this week, as most, but we continue to accelerate at an accelerated rate. Things are happening so much faster, and we're getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the foundational pieces that will unlock levels we've never had access to. So it's a very exciting time. And this also will have profound effects as we continue on this journey at a personal level, bringing in that ruby ray order, those frequencies that we associate with the organic divine father frequencies, justice frequencies, divine authority. And that divine authority is about authority over our own sovereignty and freedom, our own bodies, our own biology. And so this is also beginning to work at what is referred to as the transduction, I always say this wrong, levels, where our body structures, our organs, our glands, and we've been working to prepare for this for years, but ready to be seated at a level that will begin the correction process all the way down at the adamantine levels, all the way down at the actual elemental levels of bringing our body back into out of the 666, which was the death and dying cycles, releasing that completely and coming back into our organic angelic blueprint. So there's a lot going on. Sorry, this was a longer update, but in a very exciting way. And as we move continue on this process, being able to foundationally access higher frequencies of our organic light source energy. So very exciting time to be aware and on this journey of awakening. Hi, I'm Raquel, and I am an ascension guide, helping you to awaken and remember your quantum self. I provide a holistic, multifaceted, and comprehensive approach to your awakening and ascension, bringing you to the cutting edge of consciousness while expanding your ability to live multidimensionally. You are a divine sovereign being of light, and it's time to remember. Explore my website, raquelspencer.com, to learn about becoming your quantum self.